wonder if they can hear us.
All right, we will call to order the meeting of the Common Council from August 3rd, 2021. Clerk?
Thank you, Your Honor. We only have 10 present in Civic Clerk.
Okay.
I
think
I believe
Alder
we have,
Brunette is
I
currently-
cannot count the number of people who are present in the meeting from, but we're missing Alders Lefebvre and Brunette in Civic Clerk.
Okay.
Just to let
I
you
think
know.
Lefebvre, I think is there. She's going to Mayo Clinic with her husband.
So we will
And
note.
I think Chris can fill you in on that a little bit.
And then Alder,
Yeah, Alder Brunette is currently logging in, and we will note that Alder Lefebvre is excused.
okay, thank you.
So please
And I
rise.
will mark him present and voting then.
Great, thank you, Clerk. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation led by Alder Corpus Dax. I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag
of the United States
of the United States of
to
America
the republic
and from the republic
for which it
for which it stands,
under God,
one nation, under God,
and justice.
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So is a meditative moment of silence.
Thank you, Lord.
Thank you, Alder. Approval of the minutes. Motion made by Alder Johnson, seconded by Alder Stevens to approve the minutes of the June 29, 2021 Common Council meeting. Any corrections? Seeing no requests, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The minutes have been approved. Approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Mayor?
Yes, Alder Stoyer.
Yes, we have a few citizens that want to testify on a particular issue, and I was wondering if report U of the Traffic, Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee could be moved up to
We could take
pardon?
we could take that in front of the RDA.
Right before RDA.
Sure. Motion has been made to amend the agenda to take up the report of the Traffic, Bicycle and Pedestrian Commission prior to the report of the Redevelopment Authority. The motion was made by Alder Stoyer, seconded by Alder Johnson. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The agenda has been amended. Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the amended agenda.
Second.
Motion has been made to approve the agenda as amended. That was made by Alder Johnson, seconded by Alder Scannell. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The agenda has been approved as amended. Report by the mayor. Just wanted to first thank the neighborhood associations of both Preble Park and Mather Heights. There might have been a few others as well that were active tonight, but I was able to stop out at Preble and Mather Heights and spend some time with their neighborhood associations and neighborhood residents for National Night Out. So thanks to both of those associations and those neighbors for coming together. Thanks also to our police department and fire department for offering some staff to be out there to mix and mingle with our residents. It's an important effort every year, and just glad that we had a few associations that recognized it this evening. Also just wanted to make a note about, unfortunately, COVID-19. I think we all know that with the Delta variant, cases have been creeping up here and certainly spiking in other parts of the country. We're fortunate not to be in that situation, but cases are rising, and our local county public health department has recommended mask wearing, so doing that. But I think more importantly, just encouraging residents to have a conversation with their primary care providers, with their physicians or nurse practitioners about the safety and efficacy of the vaccination. At this point, It is essentially a pandemic among the unvaccinated. We're seeing some breakthrough cases certainly, but the severe cases by and large are focused on that unvaccinated population. So just encouraging members of the public to have that conversation with medical experts in their lives, and hopefully we can continue to ramp up that vaccination rate here in the city. Finally, just a note, a little kind of a housekeeping note so that members of the public are aware. We've got about half of the council who is in the chambers, half roughly at home. So it's going to be a little bit wonkier probably than we're used to. So council and members of the public, please bear with us as we get through it. So that concludes the report, and we are on to announcements from council.
Mayor?
Alder Stoyer, go ahead.
Thank you. I told a few of the alders before the meeting I was going to do a little cautionary tale of something that happened to me about 3 weeks ago. I was cleaning out the gutters in my roof. I had the ladder leaning. I fell. I broke about 7 safety rules, and I just wanted to give a cautionary tale to the citizenry not to do that. I broke several bones, and I'm suffering for it, but just want to let you know I'm okay. But please have someone hold a ladder, or just be smart, just be safe. And I wasn't, and but I had a lot of prayers and a lot of good things from folks, so I'm good with that. I also, on the 27th at Lambeau Atrium, we had Governor Evers, Mayor Genrich, we had retired Senator Dave Hansen, we had Green Bay Packer President Mark Murphy, and other dignitaries at Lambeau Atrium to sign in Wisconsin Bill 74, I believe, which is changing the name of the Main Street Bridge downtown to the Bart Starr Memorial Bridge. And there will be activities the weekend of October 23rd, 24th, just before the Washington-Green Bay football game in town. So stay tuned for that, and we're very excited about it. It was well received, and I think it's a richly rewarded and to a great person. So, thank you.
Thank you, Alder, and thanks to you for initially spearheading that movement and bringing that resolution through council and sending it to our state legislators. And glad to hear that you're doing okay.
Thank you.
Other announcements from council? Okay, seeing none, we will move along to appointments.
Motion to approve.
Motion
Second.
made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Stevens to confirm the new appointments. Any discussion?
Can I just have a point of order? I can't hear when the alders on the floor are making motions or seconding.
Yeah.
Is there something that needs to be turned on, or we're just not going to be able to hear that?
Yeah, you're just not going to be able to hear that, but I will tell you who is seconding motions.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sorry about that. That's just one of the issues with having kind of a mixed council at home and in person. So now I lost track of who made the motions.
I made the motion.
Made the motion. The motion was made by Alder Scannell, and that was seconded by Alder Stevens. Any discussion on those appointments, on those new appointments? Seeing none, all in favor will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and those new appointments were made. I'll entertain a motion on reappointments.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve the reappointments made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Corpus Dax. Discussion here. Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and those reappointments are made. On to public hearings. We've got item J1, Planning Ordinance Number 03-21, an ordinance amending the official map of the city of Green Bay by closing a portion of Cass Street to public traffic. Is there anyone here who would like to speak to this item? Anyone here to speak to this item? Is there anyone here who would like to speak to this item? Clerk, please let the record reflect there are no residents to speak to this item. Moving along to ordinances, second reading for adoption.
Motion to suspend the rules.
Motion to suspend the rules has been made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Johnson. We'll take up those items with one roll call vote. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The rules are suspended.
Motion to adopt.
Motion has been made to adopt those items made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Corpus Dax. Any discussion? All right, we will use the board.
Alders Weary and Stoyer,
It didn't come up on mine. I vote aye. I vote aye.
and then Alder Weary.
That was an aye from Alder Weary.
And then also Alder Brunette.
Alder Brunette votes aye.
Thank you.
And those are adopted 11-0. All right, and now we will move along because of the amended agenda to the report of the Traffic, Bicycle, and Pedestrian Commission from July 19, 2021.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Stevens. Any items here to be handled separately?
Number 3,
Three. Yep, number 3.
Number 3, any others? All right, item 3 will be handled separately. Hearing none others, all in favor of approving the remainder of that report, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The report has been approved, with the exception of item 3.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve item 3 made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Johnson. The item was pulled by a number of people, but I think Alder Dorf first. Alder
Thank
Dorf?
you. To break this item apart into 3 separate items, because I am not comfortable dealing with all 3 of these issues with one vote. So my first motion would be to improve traffic conditions and enforcement of violations on City Street by Common Council drafting a resolution to the state of Wisconsin in support of eliminating the traffic photo enforcement ban statute. That would be part 1.
Okay. So is this a motion to separate?
I guess that would be it. Motion to separate.
Okay.
Second.
And you'd like to, just to clarify, would you like to split all 3 of them apart?
I would.
Okay.
Yes.
So motion has been made to separate this item into those 3 distinct items. It was made by Alder Dorf and seconded by Alder Scannell, I believe.
Yes.
Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and that item has been separated. So we're on the resolution piece.
I got a question, Mayor.
Alder Sawyer?
Right, and like I said, there are a few citizens that will want to testify here as well, so we would make a motion. I believe it's a draft resolution, and I guess for clarification, just want to make sure that that what we're voting on tonight, is it specific to finalize that draft resolution, or are we looking at?
The resolution is on the agenda.
Okay, so it is the way it is. Okay. All right. Well, then like I said, I'd like to hear from the citizens as well on this one, on that particular one. So
Okay.
I'll just wait to open. I'll make a motion, open the floor when it's ready.
It is ready.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion has been made to open the floor, seconded by Alder Scannell. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The floor is open. And just a reminder to citizens who'd like to testify, just give us your full name and address and then begin speaking.
Okay, I guess I'll go first. My name is Lisa Williamson. I live at 1875 Gary Lane, the city of Green Bay, and our house is located across from Fleet Farm on Taylor Lane. I have several complaints to make. Number 1, since the state rerouted the highways, there is no access to 41 North on Velp anymore. So all traffic gets rerouted to go up Taylor Street onto Shawano Avenue. Number 2, they took down the traffic stops signs and they put up lights because they felt it was more efficient, was what I was originally told, to keep traffic moving. The problem that it's created with us living right next to Taylor Street is it's become a racetrack. So I have seen motorcycles doing wheelies down Taylor Lane. We have a Mustang that likes to go 50 to 60 miles an hour and rev his engine every day when the light is green. You can't see a speed limit sign on Taylor. And it's like living, it is worse than living next to the highway where we live, because the motorcycles, the noise is so loud, we can't stand to be outside some days. It is hard to exit our street because we live on Gary Lane between Shawano Avenue and Bond. And since the roundabout has been installed, and when the green light is going on Bond, we can wait between 5 and 10 minutes to exit on our street safely because we're right across from Fleet Farm, which has 3 driveways, which people are going in and out of all the time. It is not a safe area for the citizens of our street to exit. The noise is ridiculous. I have neighbors down the street that live 3 or 4 houses down that complain about the noise too. So what we are proposing as a neighborhood is we want the traffic light eliminated, number 1, so people actually have to stop and not race through it going 45 and 50 miles an hour. I have complained to the city police department several times. They know my name and they know my number and they call me and they say they are doing the best job that they can. But they only have 3 traffic police officers to do the whole city of Green Bay, which I think is really sad. I would like to see lights installed where people get tickets. I would like to feel safe exiting my street onto Taylor Lane. And I would like the noise to be reduced. I know I'm emotional about this, but it has gotten ridiculous in the last 2 years. We are considering selling our house and we have tried to, but with housing prices where they are at right now, we can't afford to. So we live with the noise. I guess that's all I can say right now. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, ma'am, for providing that input. We really appreciate it. Any other members of the public who would like to speak on this item?
Yes, this is Richard Perrins at 1402 Kellogg Street, Green Bay. First off, I'd like to thank the members of the Traffic, Pedestrian, and Bicycle Committee for allowing me to speak with them. It was a very good meeting. I think some very good things came out of it. But I want to reiterate some things. I think the city's job, number 1, is the safety of its community. And from what I've heard about, even with Lisa, who just spoke, but also online with many members of the community who use an app called Nextdoor, is that this has really gotten out of hand. I emailed today all of the council members and also an article out of the Wall Street Journal in the last few days about how this was somewhat a result of the pandemic. Well, people have lost their respect for the law. They've lost their respect for their fellow citizens. And as a result, they seem like they could do whatever they want to. We too have a pedestrian street with a playground and a school across the street. It's not unusual to see people race up that, blow through the stop sign right before they get to it. Do not stop, just go straight through and race up the street at 40 to 50 miles an hour regularly on certain days of the week. I've called the police. You know what? Our police have got bigger fish to fry at the moment. We need to find alternative methods where possible to enable them. And one of the police members who attended that meeting on the 19th spoke to the fact that there are only, I think, 3 moving radar units available on our police cruisers. That's insufferable. We can afford to possibly purchase more of them so we can catch people in the act. The second thing is what Alderman Dorf spoke to, which is changing the state statute. Whether this all goes together, I think that is really the first thing that has to be changed. We need red light cameras. I know they're intrusive. People don't want that. Well, then don't speed, because the only people that are going to be affected by these red light cameras are the folks that are breaking the law. Third, I would like to see some stiffer fines come into play. If people are caught doing these things, they need to pay, and pay in a big way so that it hurts them, hurts their driving record, and hurts their insurance costs. Because it's just an affront to the rest of us who, probably we all go a few miles an hour over the speed limit at times. We've got a fairly low speed limit in Green Bay of 25 miles an hour, but that's okay. If you keep it in a reasonable parameter, I think everyone's safe with that. But not when they're jumping on it and just racing up the street in vehicles that have been modified to sound very loud, motorcycles that will pop wheelies on the freeway at 80 miles an hour. I clocked them. They'll pop a wheelie right next to me and it's amazing. I just don't want them to die in front of me. I don't want to be part of their accident. So, those kinds of things are they're starting to frighten people. And to that end, we need to act on this in a meaningful and a quick fashion. Increase the fines, get the state to first alter, if not at least look at their photo enforcement statute. And thirdly, to enable our police, and that could happen in a number of ways. We have also traffic people. The other thing I did find when I was looking up a lot of this, how to moderate traffic or calm it.
Sir, you are up against your 3 minutes here. So
Well,
you just want
fine.
to conclude your remarks?
Sure. You can get better traffic signs that tell them not only they're speeding, but what the fine will be. So I encourage all of you to act on this and act on this quickly. Thank you.
Thank you for your input. Any other members of the public who would wish to testify?
Motion to close the floor.
Second.
Motion to close the floor made by Alder Stoyer, seconded by Alder Scannell. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The floor is closed.
I have some comments too after Alderdorf.
Alder
I just
Stoyer?
wanted to break it apart. That's all I have right now.
Okay, so Alder Stoyer, we have the resolution to deal with later on in the agenda, but that's the first item here.
So we're just talking about the resolution itself. Well, okay, I feel that it's a good step. Like I said, it's a 3-part, resolution, or not resolution and other items here, but I would make a motion to accept.
Motion to approve made by Alder Stoyer, seconded by Alder Stevens. Further discussion on that first item here? Yes, Alder Vanderleest.
I'd like the police department to give us just a little breakdown on that camera. In other words, on number 1, if they could just give us that information so the public's aware of what will be put in effect.
Okay, just kind of describe what these traffic cameras are capable of doing?
That would be great.
Okay. Chief Runge, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, we haven't studied them real in-depth. We did talk about it this morning, yesterday morning. We think it probably would be an effective tool, in select locations. My understanding how it works is that camera will take a photograph of the vehicle with its license plate. We suspect there would have to be some owner liability law to pair that with, because it'd be very difficult to identify the driver with some of those cameras.
Okay, great. Thanks for those comments. Alder Vanderleest?
Are they basically when someone goes through a red light, is that the main?
That's the main Yeah, that's the main thing. Red lights is what it's usually used for, but we would, ideally envision it to use it in some of the speed areas if we could, the Mason Street Bridge, East Mason. If we could adapt it to that, the high areas where speed is the issue. That's our biggest complaint in the city is speeding.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Alder. Any other comments or questions on the resolution? Alder Galvin?
Thank you, Your Honor. I was in Washington, D.C. Earlier this year for a little over a week visiting my daughter who lives there. And they have quite a few cameras in that metropolitan area. They're set up either for red lights and they're also set up for speeding. Some are mobile, some are permanent. I had my picture taken one night when I didn't come to a stop in time and went over a line that they paint on the ground about 3-4 feet. I haven't been contacted by them yet. I guess maybe they just figured I was an out-of-towner and they gave me a break. It was a first time. But I will say that after driving through communities like Milwaukee, Chicago and that, I would have to say the driving, and that's a community of 700,000 residents, the driving in DC was markedly better than in communities like Milwaukee and that. I mean, there were still people you saw acting out, but with the amount of cameras that they had, the fact that they announced them with signs, the owners are given a fine, pretty, like $100 or something like that. But you could tell it had an impact. I mean, and I was living in Green Bay than I did in DC while I was there. Thank you.
Thank you. Alder Dorf.
Thank you. I just think it's important to emphasize to the public that we can't make this decision by ourselves. We have to get the law changed. So this is just a very first step. If we approve this, is asking our legislature to consider getting rid of that ban. And I just wanted to make sure that's clear to the people who are listening. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Good point. Alder Brunette and then Alder Stoyer.
If I speak in the microphone, can you all hear me? Okay, thank you. Thanks to Director Honick and Shelby for helping me get connected to Wi-Fi. It's been a rough start to the meeting, but they're professional as always, so I appreciate it. Regarding the idea to separate, I obviously am in favor of that. The other two parts, we should refer to the new police chief when that person starts, Chief Davis. Regarding the resolution, I am in favor, fully aware that the state legislature really needs to decide to allow this to the city of Green Bay and other municipalities in regard to traffic enforcement. Look at the resolution. Over a 5-year period of time, there were over 4,700 traffic accidents in Green Bay. Vehicle crashes, which is 900 a year, which is over 2 a day. Sadly, 24 fatalities, which is 5 per year. 5 people in this city who have been killed per year over a 5-year period of time, and 259 crashes involving pedestrians and or bicyclists. That's 50 per year. It's 1 per week involving pedestrians, bicyclists, oftentimes children. So I'm usually a small government guy. I don't like the idea of surveillance and this or that, but when it comes to traffic enforcement, City of Green Bay needs an additional tool in our toolbox to enforce traffic. We can look at other solutions when the new police chief starts, but I'm not a fan of having these all over the city if this passes and the state allows us to do this, but certainly around intersections where there are schools and children and habitual speeders. We really need to get this under control. Not sure what the long-term solution will be, but it's frustrating for alders because from time to time, these issues come up repeatedly and the situation in a specific neighborhood or street goes away for a very short amount of time, but yet the problems reappear. And really what we're looking at is safety of people in our community, oftentimes the most vulnerable, whether they be elderly, people in wheelchairs, small children going to and from school. So enough is enough. I'm hoping you all hopefully this passes, but you all contact our state legislators in the area to push this through, to allow us the permission to use this tool. especially, if not entirely, especially in school districts and school zones. I think that would be a great idea. So I'm 100% in favor of this resolution, and I thank Traffic Engineer Hanson, Director Grenier, and his team for putting this together in a very short amount of time. I'm quite impressed. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Alder Stoyer for a second time.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. Yeah, I had a good conversation with Director Grenier and Engineer Hanson today, and reiterating some of what Alder Burnett says, crashes. It sounds like over half the crashes that occur in this area are because of speeding. And there's another 13 or 14%. If you add that to it, that's inattentive driving. So for texting or any other number of things. So you combine those two things together, 2/3 of all accidents are because of speeding or inattentive driving, and that's unreasonable. I have reached out to my representative, Christina Shelton, on this, and she has some folks doing research on this, and she's aware of the situation, and I would hope that we could get some of our other state legislators to get involved in this as well. I'm definitely behind that. And I think we should all really concentrate and work on this. This is an issue, I think, that is very strong in resolving of some sort. And I agree with Alder Burnett that we should have these other items referred to the new police chief as he moves forward with his staff and department to work on this. So anyway, that is my point. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Alder Johnson?
Is it on? Yep. The one thing that, much like Alder Burnett said, I tend not to support growth in government, but this one is kind of the exception in the sense that if we favor the addition of traffic enforcement officers, which we unanimously supported, I believe, during budget season, I would hope that we would favor this because this allows us a more efficient deployment of resources. The cost to install cameras or surveillance equipment that can be strategically deployed in certain areas is certainly going to be much more cost effective than the addition of really more traffic enforcement officers that can only be where they are. And what I mean by that is, to use Mr. Perrin's example, motorcycle does a wheelie down his street and then it's gone. And so to call a traffic enforcement officer at that point to come on site doesn't do anything. It doesn't solve the problem, whereas strategically deployed cameras would allow us the ability to have that surveillance and without the need for an officer to be there physically present. So this is one of those exceptions where I think government intervention is a good thing. I do support the resolution, and I hope our state elected body can find a way for us to smartly deploy this type of technology in our communities where resources have become more scarce. We need to do more with less, and I think and this particular tool would allow us to do just that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Alder. Any other comments from council on this item? All right. We do have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor will signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and that item is approved. And I personally can attest to the effectiveness of the cameras in Chicago. Very sensitive. On to the second item, increasing funding for moving radar units within police vehicles.
Motion to approve.
And I think there was, Alder Brunette had some discussion on that, so I'll go to him again real quick.
Thank you, Mayor. This was an idea that I had been working with Mr. Perrins on, and that was the reason why it was before the Traffic Commission. And the Traffic Commission did a heck of a job discussing it from several different perspectives, but I don't think the council should put it on the Traffic Commission to, solve the traffic problems. It's probably a resource. It's probably a philosophy of law enforcement within the city. So what I would recommend on these two items is to refer to the police chief and the mayor's office as they, work on the 2022 budget.
I second that.
So there's a motion made by Alder Brunette to refer both items 2 and 3 to the mayor's office and the Green Bay Police Department as we take a look at the 2022 budget. It was seconded by Alder Dorf. Discussion on that item. Alder Galvin and then Alder Weary.
Thank you. If Acting Chief Runge could answer a question, how many stationary radar units does the department have right now?
Chief
We
Runyon?
should have one for every squad car. So
And-
if that'd be 30-some
And
units.
30 some.
Yep.
And how many of them are being used?
I don't know. It depends on the individual officer, if they, have the discretionary time, and they park and use the stationary radar.
Okay. Thank you. I would have to say that, I think this is wise to let the new chief take a look at this. A group of us had met with Chief Smith prior to the pandemic hitting. I had some numbers pulled on enforcement action by the officers of our department. Some of it was pretty disappointing and shocking as to how little some of them were doing. I'm just talking about traffic stops. I think that this is a discussion we need to have with the chief. I don't know, as a body of interested alders that would like to meet with him. But I think before we start hiring more traffic enforcement officers or anything else, we need to see what the mission of the officers and of the department is. If they're on board with traffic enforcement, or if they're just going to tell us that they're just too busy to do it and they'll get to it when they can. I can't see spending a lot of money if it's just going to sit in the car or not. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Alder Weary.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, obviously this, besides the condition of roads, is the number one complaint, speeding. In this past year, I've gotten so many calls, especially, 9th Street, Oneida, Ridge Road, Mason Street, over and over and over, and we can hit it, momentarily with some patrols, and it dies down, and they take a different route, and then a week later, they're back to taking the same route, and you get the same calls, and it's frustrating, because we're all jockeying for the same people who do the enforcement. I'm wondering, Chief, the mobile speeder boards, how many of those do we have, and is that something we'd want to look at increasing also? Because residents do like having ownership of putting in and out that mobile speeder board, and when people drive, they see their speed, and I think it helps.
Yeah, we have several of those, 2 or 3 that we move around the community. I don't know if you're aware, but our traffic unit maintains a list, based on how many complaints, the urgency of it. So we do try to address them as quickly as we can. But like you say, if we knock an issue down, a week later they might be back if we move on. The speed boards do work somewhat just like that, because we can send them a letter saying, hey, you were seen speeding in this area, just as a warning, but I guess that's as far as that goes.
I appreciate you. The ones I were talking about were just the ones that show you your speed when you're going by. I didn't really want to.
Yeah.
I get a little, as Alderman Burnett and others mentioned, I don't know if we really want cameras on private, shadow lane or something, watching people and driving around. I'd rather have it on maybe some busy intersections in the bridge, things like that. But the speeder boards you put out that tell people their speed is another thing we can do. While I'm fine sending this to your office, Mr. Mayor, and to the chief, I really want to give it a little more oomph that we endorse it. And this is not something that we're requesting. We're almost, I don't want to say demanding, but directing. Because this is such a priority, and I'm sure there's going to be other options that come up, other things we haven't thought of that we can add in later. But for me, I'm viewing this as this is something we really want to see. Not, could you look at it? Because I know the chief won't be here, the new one, until September sometime. So he's going to have a lot thrown at him. So it's kind of probably go on your plate a little bit more, Mr. Mayor. So when I vote yes on this tonight, which I will, it's going to be because I really expect this to be in there. Thanks.
Thanks, Alder. Any other, Alder Galvin for a second time?
Sorry, but and this is part of the problem, and this is why we have to do research. Speeder boards. Studies have shown that speeder boards with no enforcement behind them become ineffective tools and are ignored. Studies have shown that when they see a speeder board and there's a squad car half a block or a block away waiting to make a stop, then they have more of an impact. We even had an ex-alderman speeder boards with speeds on it. We've had individuals use the speeder boards to determine how fast their cars can go on some roads or how accurate their speedometers are. We even had one alderman that when we turn the speeder board off so you don't see the speed limit and you're just taking a survey, which I think is very effective when we do the surveys, because then you can tell your residents exactly how fast the cars are going through their neighborhoods. Even down to percentages. So is there a problem or isn't it? And I've had some neighbors who thought cars were going fast, and it turned out later on the cars really weren't going fast, a few miles over. But we also had people who, when they see the board not working, go back 3, 4, 5 times, going faster and faster, trying to get it to go off. So, you would think it would work because it works for us, because we want to obey the law. But sometimes they're more of a hindrance or more of a problem than they're worth, depending upon how you use them. The same thing with hiring more officers or radars and all this other stuff. Green Bay at one time did have an effective traffic enforcement unit that reduced traffic accidents so much they got an award from the insurance companies that were happy because there were so few claims coming in. But we don't have that anymore. And I think there needs to be a fundamental change with the way our department views traffic enforcement. And some of that is manpower. You got to have boots on the street, and if they're handling calls and they can't get out, or they're a traffic enforcement unit, but they're being pulled to handle street calls, then we're spinning our wheels thinking we're getting something out of them. So I think we need to, granted, waiting till September. I mean, school's already starting by then. But I think we need to have some conversations and come to some agreements with the police department, and also going forward with the budget as to where we want to put this money and how to buy something, if we're going to buy something that's going to be used effectively. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Alder Dorf and then Alder Scannell.
Thank you. I just want to clarify that when I vote yes on this, I am voting to refer this to the mayor and to the future police chief, Chief Runge, and I'm wanting the three of you, with whoever else you think is appropriate, to look at what's the best way to handle the situation. So I am not that you are compelled to do this. So if that is what people think this means, we need to clarify this motion.
Alder Scannell.
You're not going to answer a question?
I think the motion.
I just have a question
the
for.
Motion, well, from my point of view, the motion as it stands is sufficient.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Chief Runge, can CSI units help out with traffic?
Chief?
No, they can, what they have done in the past has been by the speed boards and write down license plates, but they have no authority to enforce traffic.
Okay, thank you.
But just for information, we do have 4 traffic officers. The one person was retiring, so we're back up to speed there. That should help some.
Great. Thanks, Chief. Any other comments? If you have a motion to refer in a second, all in favor will signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and those items have been referred. Now we are on to report of the Redevelopment Authority from July 13th
Motion to approve.
and July 27, 2021.
Second.
Motion to approve made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Dorf. Any items here to be handled separately? Hearing none. All in favor of approving that report, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The report has been approved. Park Committee.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve made by Alder Scannell,
Second.
seconded by Alder Dorf. Any items here to be handled separately? 7. Any others? All right, item 7 will be handled separately. Hearing none others, all in favor of approving the remainder of that report, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Aye.
The ayes have it. The report has been approved with the exception of item 7.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Corpus Dax. Item was pulled by Alder Weary.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. What I would like to do is just ask our Parks Director to weigh in on this. This caused some confusion, and if we could just publicly clarify what's going on at Colburn over the next few years, the phases, and how this would impact it tonight. Thanks.
Absolutely. Director Ditchite?
Sure. Colburn Park is planning to be redeveloped. So right now there's a phase 1 project, which construction will begin very shortly on. We've already bid out the work. We have a contractor on board, and that is to build 2 Little League fields and rebuild the parking lot adjacent to the Little League fields. So that is actually funded and approved and ready to go. We have an extra $25,000 left over from that project because the bids came in a little bit lower than we had anticipated. And then secondly, there's a phase 2 project, which is planned for a few years down the road. And in our 5-year CIP that was just presented to the Finance Committee and City Council a few months ago, in 2023, we requested funding for phase 2 at Colburn, which is to continue the improvements in the ball field areas. So that would be to request money for a new playground next to the ball fields, to request money for some walkways, batting cages, improvements to the concession stand, and possibly even the shelter that's adjacent to that. Now, we also have some funding for the relocation of the hockey rink as part of phase 1. In reality, that project may or may not have to happen depending on how phase 2 is designed. And so we don't have to relocate the hockey rink as part of phase 1. And until we do some design work, we don't yet know if it needs to be relocated at all. So what this proposal is asking for approval to do is to, in essence, take the funding, the $25,000 that's left over in funding from the ball field project, which is phase 1, and then also temporarily and possibly permanently eliminating the relocation of the hockey rink in phase 2. Now, if we find that we do want to move that hockey rink in the future, we'll either design phase 2 within the allocated budget that is given to us for phase 2 in 2023, or we'll have to ask for a little bit more money than what's in our CIP for 2023.
Thanks, Director. Alder Weary?
Thank you, and I appreciate that, Director. It's a good plan, and it's going to be very nice once it's completed. My only worry is sometimes once money's gone for a project or a park, other parks all of a sudden pop up with needs that are viewed as more important, and they get knocked back years, many years sometimes. So I assume you're going to be director for a while. So 2023 is still going to be phase 2, correct, Director?
That is what our next CIP is going to show, yes.
Okay. And viewing that, in light that this money really is not going to be used this year, it could sit in a pot for 2 years, or we could use it towards a project that we're going to do, was it this fall or next spring?
It would be this fall. The project's out to bid. We're short of funds for INS and City Council to award that bid.
Okay. So, in view of looking at all the parks, I think it's fine if we move this if we're not using it right away, knowing that there is going to be this next phase coming shortly, and I'm fine with it then. Thanks for the explanation.
Thanks, Alder. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and that motion is approved. Report of the Improvement and Services Committee, July 28th, 2021.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Johnson. Any items here to be handled separately? Hearing none, all in favor of approving that report, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, the report has been approved. Protection and policy.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Corpus Dax to approve the report of the Protection and Policy Committee from July 26, 2021. Any items here to be handled separately? Item 6. Any others? All right, item 6 will be handled separately. Hearing none others, all in favor of approving the remainder of that report, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, the report has been approved with the exception of item 6. Your wishes?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Corpus Dax. Item was pulled by Alder Stevens.
Question for the director. So since we met on protection and policy until today, have you determined how many people are actually viewing this channel through Spectrum?
We cannot get those numbers. We have never been provided them through our history. We've had the channel since 2014.
Okay. Do you think if we request that again, they might give it to us?
I don't believe they have the numbers to provide us. I don't think there's a public television station who's ever obtained those numbers.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? Alder Weary, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I read, the minutes and saw the discussion about this, and I know it might be a dying thing for people to sit and watch Channel 4 and watch the meetings, but I still, when going door to door, hear people who say, yeah, I sat and watched the meeting on my TV. I'll ask questions about what they saw. That's still out there. It might be with the older set, but still quite a few people. And from what I understand, it's approximately 10 or 11,000 a one-time expense, or is there an ongoing expense?
Current one-time expense, but we will have to upgrade other equipment in the future. I cannot determine that date because we will wait till it would, break.
I appreciate it.
And it's also the labor involved in it. I would like to take those resources that we put towards that and put into a different project.
And I haven't had a whole lot of feedback. I don't think a lot of people know that this is on the chopping block, so you probably won't hear the hue and cry really until it's really gone. I know hasn't been around for a little while now, but you just hate to see an avenue of transparency or a way to keep people connected to their government go away. And I know there's YouTube and other ways of seeing it, but boy, for me, it's really not that much of an expense when we're talking about how much we have budgeted every year. So I'd like to see it stay personally. I know I'll listen to other discussion, but for me, I think it's something that we can afford and keep another way for people to stay connected to their government. But thanks.
Thanks, Alder. Alder Dorf?
So I had the understanding that technically we can, if we don't show it on TV, then we are allowed by law to live stream our meetings. There isn't a requirement then for us to have the closed captioning. Is that true?
I think Attorney Chavez would be able to weigh in on that.
So, yes, what we have been we have to get a waiver. We had talked about this a long time ago about getting a waiver from I believe it's the FCC, in order to be able to live stream without some form of closed captioning or it's some kind of way for the hearing impaired to be able to participate. And the reason we're in this position is because it's an FCC rule that when we broadcast something onto our channel, that no matter what avenue it exists in, so if it's something that we post online, our obligation is to make sure that when it is being posted in that format as well, we are able to, at that time, whenever it's broadcast, we have to provide that service to the hearing impaired. So if we no longer are broadcasting, we don't have to see about getting a waiver. It is something that our department has been working on. But yes, you are correct. If we were to no longer broadcast our meetings onto our channel, then we would be able to start resuming immediately doing the live broadcast, or I'm sorry, the live streaming of our meetings.
Thanks, Attorney Chavez. Alder Dorf, you still have the floor.
So that is something that I think I'm weighing against having it on the Channel 4. I think it's far more important to be able to live stream our meetings. I think we reach far more of our public by doing that. And, people, there are so many different ways to watch these meetings. The meetings that Spectrum, or the meetings that were shown on Spectrum, were not shown the same day. They were days after the meeting, after the votes were already in. The other piece of it is not just the cost of equipment, but the cost of the personnel. As I hear what's going on with technology, we may be talking about adding some time, a halftime person, something like that, just to take care of this. And I don't think that is worth it. So I am going to be voting in favor of the request by the IT department to eliminate that. And I think we need to move on. And again, the biggest reason that outweighs everything for me is that we'd be able to live stream our meetings. And I think that's very important. The public's gotten used to that during COVID. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Alder Gerlach and then Alder Stoyer.
Thank you. Director Ronick, can you just please remind me how long this has been down?
Showcase channel has been down since February. That is the filler in between the government meetings. And the government meetings have been down for 2 months.
Okay, so the interesting observation I have is that I've had a tremendous number of complaints from constituents over the last 2 months. And they're about weeds and speeding and tall grass and unkempt yards, et cetera, et cetera. I've not ever heard one complaint about this. And I know that several of us were surprised when we found out it wasn't working. So I wonder how many people in this meeting have heard any complaints about it.
Thanks, Alder. Alder Stoyer.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yeah, we talked about this quite a long time at the committee. And Alder Stevens brought up a good point. It's like anything else. If you have the research or the data behind things, you can make a better decision. So it's a little difficult to find out how many people are not able to tune in or stream or any other type of thing because of the lack of technology that they may have. So we always talk about transparency, but I think if we vote for this, there will be people, I believe, that will fall through the cracks. So it sounds like it's a $10,000 thing, cost. We will have to maybe get some more staff. I don't know if I would like to know, and I think Director Ronick talked about it a little bit at the meeting, at our P&P meeting, but talking about other communities, what they're doing. And I just would like to know, for information purposes, what other communities are going this route and what other communities might be holding on to the old television technology. Is there a number on something like that in the area?
I do not have that number, but I can test that in 2018, when we were forced to close caption video meetings, surrounding communities that we used to broadcast just dropped out of broadcasting altogether instead of paying for the closed captioning. We won't be the first to do this.
So I know that there are others. I was just wondering if Green Bay is one of the lone folks doing this. And, like I said, we've had reporters contact us and that too. And we're talking about transparency. I realize that the world is changing and technology is there as well, but this is a democracy after all, and we need to make sure that everybody has the ability to tune in. And I realize that some of the meetings are after the fact, that happens, and then a week later they're broadcast. Committee meetings aren't broadcast either, so it's a tough one. I can see both sides on this one, so I'll hold off for now and figure out as we vote.
Thanks,
Thank
Alder. Alder Dorf for a second time.
Thank you. I think it's important to remember that we really cannot reach everyone. You have to be able to subscribe to Spectrum. You must have the ability to be able to pay to get Spectrum in order to get Channel 4. It's just not broadcast over there. So we are still going to be limiting it to people who don't get Spectrum. Lots of people don't. Lots of people have, I forget what kind of TV that is, but where you don't need to have Spectrum. They have direct TV, or they have satellite TV, or they have Roku. They have Roku sticks. So unless you're getting Spectrum, you're not getting it either. And we really can't be responsible for every single person to access it in a certain way. Yet every single person can access our meetings by going to the library and by pulling up the recorded meetings and by watching them. So we do have access, free access in our city. I think, again, it's very important that we have this live streaming of our meetings. I really think that that kind of trumps having this one channel that only people that subscribe to Spectrum can get. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder Johnson, and then Alder Burnett.
Mayor, to me, I think there's this assumption perhaps that this is the only way that we can reach certain members of the public. And I would caution against us protecting old assumptions. I mean, if that were the case, the only way to appreciate an art gallery would be in a cave. The only way we would have gotten here to City Council today would have been on horseback. And I mean, the reality is things do evolve. And in today's marketplace, it's about on-demand and expediency. And I think we can achieve both of those things much more effectively and reach more people by gaining the advantages of a live stream. And so to that end, I would maybe ask Director Horanek if he could just tell us, if we were to take this vote today and we were able to, I guess, is the IT department capable of live streaming the meetings without additional investment in equipment and other things?
This meeting is currently live streamed on Facebook. I mean, on YouTube. So we have that ability right now.
Okay, so we're already doing that.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, so really, to me, that's where the advantages come from. As we start to look at the development of technology and understanding the really critically significant role that our ID department needs to play for the city of Green Bay and how we evolve as a smart city, we need, I guess, the most effective way for them to allocate internal resources. And if we're looking at taking funding as a way to protect an antiquated technology, while at the same time eliminating our ability, again, to invest it in other areas that help grow the impact of services we provide to our community in other areas. I think that's, again, a dangerous path to go down. It's reminiscent to me of when we went from analog television stations to the requirement of digital. And of course, there was some pushback, but we got a much better product in the end that services more people. And so I do support the IT department's recommendation. And of course, I'm always a proponent of open government, transparent government. But there are just so many other ways to get that more effectively and efficiently and more timely, I think, than what this particular station can currently provide, particularly since the current programming doesn't run until, I think, 6 days after our meetings. By that time, we've moved on to other issues. And so, I mean, sure, it's nice to be in the know, but when we're already talking about, version 2.0 of every decision we make before those who use this programming actually see it, I'm not sure of the value that it's really offering to the public. So, thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Alder. Alder Burnett?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Another, tough issue here. I can really see both sides of it. I like the idea of live streaming. That's a really attractive feature that we have right now that I'd like to see continued. I'm not entirely convinced, no offense to anyone here, that we have pushed Spectrum hard on the number of people who watch. I think that data would be very good for us to know before we make such a decision. Little hesitant to believe that we haven't exhausted all resources to really get that information. If we laid that on the table and said the city council is considering terminating that ability, I do think that there is some draw for Spectrum or any other outlet to stream to televise our meetings, whether they're a week later or a few days later. So I don't want to make a decision unless I had that information. I think that this is sort of a situation where we don't entirely know how many people watch from television still. Every so often I get contacted by someone, hey, I saw you on TV, and they're not talking about media or anything like that. They're talking about what they watched on television. It's not, I wish our gallery was full for every meeting, honestly. I wish that civic government was to the point where we had dozens upon dozens of people at our meetings, every single meeting, even committee meetings. I know that's not where we're at. in our civic engagement at the moment in our history, and that's hard for me to accept. But I will say that I have a hard time believing that people will watch YouTube or go search out YouTube to watch our meetings consistently. What I think is more likely is, say, they're laying in bed, long day, they're tired, they're just kind of winding down, and they flip through the channels and they see one of our faces ranting and raving about some nonsensical position, and that really catches their attention and they stick along for a while. And maybe that's me speaking nonsensically, but the realization is, I think that more people watch the channels, and the more eyes that people have on their government, the more eyes on our government, whether it be local, county, city, state, federal, you name it, the better. So I'm not entirely convinced that we need to continue long-term, but until we really get more better data and more confidence that we did in fact approach them for the number of viewers, then I don't feel comfortable terminating one access the public has to their government. So, thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Alder Gerlach for a second time.
And I'm sorry, but I'm going to repeat myself. And I know that's naughty, but I'm going to do it. We do have some data. How many alders have been contacted by a constituent complaining that Channel 4 or whatever it is down? I've not had a one, and I haven't had heard anyone tonight say that they have had that. That is data. You know, you want to talk about people complaining about speeding? We hear that a lot. I just think that we're making this more difficult than it has to be. I agree with Alder Johnson. We need to move forward into the 21st century. And I don't have a horse, so I couldn't come to City Hall tonight. That's how it is.
Thanks, Alder. Well, I'll go first. We didn't hear any complaints in the mayor's office until there was an article in the Appleton Post-Crescent, and that, generated some activity. But throughout that initial span of time where the channel was not up, we didn't hear anything from the public. Any other discussion from council? Alder Weary for a second time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll make a motion to refer this back to request that information from Spectrum so that we can make a more informed decision. Thanks.
Motion has been made to refer this item back to committee. That was made by Alder Weary and seconded by Alder Burnett. Discussion on that item. Alder Gerlach and then Alder Scannell.
Just a question, because I get confused at this point. So if we vote not back, then what happens next?
Then the underlying motion is still there to approve the recommendation.
Thank you.
Alder Scannell?
Yeah, I'm against the motion. It's been asked and hasn't been answered. I think we really are beating a dead horse here, making way too much a mountain out of a molehill. There have been, I haven't placed, for me, this is an easy decision. It's time to move on, and no complaints. And we've asked. I don't think asking again is going to make a bit of difference. We should make a mean face when we ask this time or something. I mean, we've been asked. We got nothing. It's been done. Let's move on. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Alder Dorf on the motion to refer.
I agree with Alder Scannell that I don't think that we need to continue to beat a dead horse here, and I will be voting against a motion to refer.
Sure. Apologies, Alder Weary.
No, that's all right. Everybody was on a roll. That's fine. Director Ronick, do you have any of the communication? Was it calls? Was it emails, letters? Do we have any of
It was
that?
a conversation when we were inquiring about the replacement of the encoder.
So just like over the phone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or Teams meeting.
Could we send a formal letter from your
I could
office?
send an email, yeah.
Maybe a formal letter?
Formal letter.
Or email, something that we can look at and give them a little bit of time to reply, and then, it'll be out there for the public to see, hey, you know what, here's our ask, so we have this information. I just think there's really no rush on this. The equipment's broken, we need new equipment. Oh, well, we can still look at a waiver in the meantime to see if they would give it to us. If they don't give us the waiver, well, then we're already ahead on getting our answer from Spectrum. So it really doesn't hurt anything to wait and to try and get some answers. So if you don't want data and stats and you know, some actual data, not anecdotal data about what you might get called on or emailed on, then we should wait. Thanks.
Thanks, Alder. Any other, Alder Vanderleest?
I just want to ask the director, is there a financial cost right now? And if it is delayed, is there a financial cost coming up relatively soon?
No.
Okay. Okay, that
We have
answers
yet to
that
receive
question.
our quote for the encoder that we have asked about.
Pardon?
It's a very slow process. We have yet to receive a quote for the encoder we've asked for. So,
thank you.
Yeah, it's slow, so.
Okay, thanks, Director. And that, but you have an approximation of the cost on the encoder, but you
Yes,
haven't?
that was, again, in a verbal conversation.
Yep,
Right.
okay.
Mhm.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from council? Alder Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a question for Director Hronik. Is this an irreversible decision tonight? Meaning, if we choose to discontinue the use of public television, do we also lose the ability to resurrect it if we change our minds later?
I cannot answer that question right now. If anything, I would like to give our current working equipment to some other agency that would broadcast for us. And maybe it's an educational agency, UWGB, Green Bay School District, Fox Valley Tech. You know, I'd like to see that happen. And
Okay.
students get credit for it.
And one of the other questions that at least I didn't hear raised, you know, when I read the article that came out recently in the Post-Crest, and it was interesting to me, you know, that it was other communities that were benefiting from our broadcast. Can you explain that to me, to us?
Originally, when we took over the station, Time Warner used to program this station for years and years and years. I don't know, probably since day one, 1980s. I guess they always programmed ours and other surrounding communities, like mostly in the Fox Valley. And I guess when we agreed to take it over, we agreed to take over the programming of those communities. Those communities now go all virtual and digital, YouTube. So they're not missing out on anything either. But yes, we do program other communities, and they do it for free. We do it for free.
Okay, so they're not contributing to
No.
the staff expense, to the equipment expense to actually broadcast to their community. So we're just being a good neighbor.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. You know, and the reason I ask those questions, because, I mean, I appreciate Alder Wery's point. I still think that the data or the response that we get back is not necessarily going to sway my decision, but right now it's already down. If we want to do one more ping with Spectrum to see what kind of data we can get, I'm okay with that. And I think I'll support the motion to just hold or refer. But I also recognize that I think there's probably a very slim chance that we're going to get data back that would actually prompt me to sway where I'm leaning on this decision right now. So, thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Any other comments on the motion to refer? Seeing none, all in favor will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Nay. Nay.
The ayes appear to have it, and the motion is, or the item is referred back to committee. Report of the Protection and Policy Committee granting operator licenses. Motion to approve made by Alder Stevens, seconded by Alder Corpus Dax. Any abstentions or names to be handled separately?
Mayor?
Yes.
I need to be shown as abstaining from Brooke Gerke, Denise Kirkmeyer, and Casey Ponchout, as they all report to me directly.
Very good, Alder. Those will be noted. Any others? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. That report has been approved. Plan Commission.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Corpus Dax, to approve the report of the Plan Commission from July 26, 2021. Any items here to be handled separately? Hearing none. All in favor of approving that report, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The report has been approved. Finance.
Motion to
Move
approve.
to approve.
Motion to approve made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Dorf. Any items here to be handled separately?
7?
What was that, Alder?
7?
7. Any others? Item 7 will be handled separately. Hearing none others, all in favor of approving the remainder of that report, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The report has been approved with the exception of item 7. Your wishes on item 7.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Stoyer. The item was pulled by Alder Johnson.
Just looking to staff to give us an overview on this, and if we need to go into closed session, if they would just let me know that, I'd be happy to make that motion.
Attorney Chavez?
Yes, we can definitely go into closed session.
I would move that we go into closed session.
Second.
Motion has been made to move to go into closed session by Alder Johnson, seconded by Alder Corpus Dax. Somebody have the language at their disposal?
The council may convene in closed session pursuant to section 19.85, subsection 1, subsection G, Wisconsin statutes for the purpose of conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body was rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is likely to become involved. The council will thereafter reconvene in open session pursuant to section 19.85, subsection 2, Wisconsin statute to take action on items discussed in closed session, if appropriate, and to reconsider the remainder of the agenda.
Thank you, Alder. Any comments on that motion? Alder Burnett?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Obviously, this is a election complaint issue, which has proven to be rather controversial the last several months. Attorney Chavez, is there anything that you can provide for reference in the agenda pack? There's very little that the public would really have any ability to understand. What can you share with the council as to why this needs to go into closed session or should go into closed session, and what can you reveal to the public?
Attorney Chavez?
Public is the nature of the request. So the filings that have been submitted are public record. There is a request by Chris Teskey. So let me back up and explain where we're at procedurally. So we received a request. We received a request from Chris Teskey once the original complaint was filed with the WC for representation. Our office notified her that we would be the ones who would provide it, and that we needed to confer with her about numerous things. At that time, she indicated that she felt that there was a conflict of interest, but no further information was provided. Our office did not identify one. As we moved forward, the proceedings were drafted, and the responsive pleadings were drafted, and as we were getting prepared to file them, I was not able to get approval from Chris Teskey on her response. Instead, she wanted us to essentially eliminate everything that we were submitting and instead submit something basically saying that she agreed with the complainants. And we determined at that point there was a conflict of interest, which we notified her of, and we submitted a request for to allow her additional time to respond if she needed to, and we submitted a motion to dismiss on her behalf in order to preserve her position nonetheless. And after that time, she submitted this request for conflict counsel to be paid for at the expense of this city. Everything else needs to be discussed in closed session. The reason being is that there's no way to discuss client-privileged communications without going into closed session. I mean, at this point, we're to the point of having to discuss attorney-client privilege.
Alder Burnett?
Yeah, thank you, Attorney Chavez. That's fair. You explained it. I just didn't want to go behind closed doors and have some members of the public wonder what in the world we're talking about that couldn't be disclosed publicly. So you certainly answered the question, so thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Alder Johnson?
Thank you. Just a quick question for Attorney Chavez, and maybe just a point of clarification. So if we have this discussion in open session, we indefinitely waive our right to have these conversations in closed session in the future. Is that correct?
Apologies, correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder. So we do have that motion on the floor. If there isn't any further discussion, we can use the board on moving into closed session.
I'm a yes.
Thank you, Alder. Alders Weary and Vanderleest?
Alder Weary votes aye. Sorry.
Thank you.
I already voted on the machine.
Oh.
Yes, I do. I see that, Alder Vanderleest. Thank you. It was a little delayed.
All right, and that is 10-1 to move into closed session. So we will close down and reconvene.
Thank you. Just give us a few.
All right, we are prepared to return to open session. Clerk, are you ready for us?
Yes, Your Honor, I am ready.
Okay, great. I'll entertain a motion to return.
Motion to return.
Second.
Motion has been made to return to open session by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Corpus Dax. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and we are back in open session. We have a motion and a second to deny action on a request. Is there Alder Brunette?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I would like to make a motion to hold until our next meeting, until the time that the city attorney can provide the city council an update on the response that was received to our response to the original complaint.
Thanks, Alder. Additional comments or questions? Motion has been seconded. This is a motion to hold this item until the next meeting of our common council.
Excuse me, Mayor.
Yes,
I did not hear who seconded the motion.
that was seconded by Alder Weary.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on that motion?
I would like to.
Go ahead.
Attorney Chavez, if you could answer when the city received the response to our response to the complaint to the WEC.
They had my email wrong in the distribution list, so I received it later than everyone, but I believe I received it late on the 28th.
Okay. From the time that was received, and I'm not going to get into any personal details, but can you answer if the city council was informed of that response and what the response included?
No, I haven't even had a chance to go through the entire thing myself. I've skimmed it, but I have not had a chance to fully review it. And it is over 250 pages combined.
Fair point. I guess my comment would be that for the council to go ahead and deny a claim without having read that response and understanding the response, which I'm assuming, because I haven't read it, I didn't know that it existed, it probably includes the former clerk's name at least several times. So I'm not comfortable with making a motion to deny until I can read the response to that complaint. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Alder Dorf.
Thank you. I'm very comfortable in voting on this tonight. I will not be voting to hold it. I think we've discussed this plenty of times in open session and closed session. I think we know what the issues are, and I will be voting against holding it, and then I will hope to be voting back on the original motion to deny. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Any others? Alder Weary.
Mr. Mayor, it's my understanding, based on the questions we just heard from Alderman Burnett, Attorney Chavez, that the 200 pages, 100-page of response, 100-page of additional information wasn't available for the last Finance Committee, so there's no way it could have been discussed in closed session, open session in any way at last committee, correct?
Attorney
It
Chavez.
was not available to discuss at closed session or at the last meeting, but I will note that the most important pleading is always the complaint. The response are just the arguments regarding the complaint.
All right. Yeah, my question was just that it wasn't discussed because it wasn't available, the 200 pages of a response to our response. So I think it would be thorough and well within this council's duty to read that first and really decide what we should do from there. So I'll also be voting to hold this so we can look at that.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Alder Scannell.
Thank you, Your Honor. I don't care about that complaint. We've been told, I believe I can state this, that we are not responsible. We are not for that, for paying for her counsel. And so I believe in being fiscally responsible and not picking up an obligation we are not obligated to do. And that's all I'm looking at here. All the other stuff has nothing to do with this issue as far as I'm concerned. Either we're obligated to pay for her defense or we're not. We are not. So I'm fine with going forward and not paying for it. Everything else is a whole nother ball of wax.
Thanks, Alder. Alder Gerlach.
Just to be clear again, I'm sorry to have to ask this again. Before we vote on anything, I want to make sure I understand what Chris Teskey is asking us to pay for is an attorney to represent her in conflict with the city of Green Bay. Is that correct? No? Alder Scannell's saying no.
Just wait. Attorney Chavez.
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you.
Alder Stoyer.
Thank you, Your Honor. I think a lot of us would like to just see this all go away. It's been a long, long process. And, Alder Burnett and Alder Wery bring up some good points. We didn't have a chance to see 200 pages. Do we want to read 200 pages? I don't know if I want to, but if we're going to be transparent about this, I think we should hold it if it's not time. I think it's a slam dunk that way. I was leaning the other way, but after hearing the comments from Alder Burnett and Alder Wery, I feel that we need to be able to look at that. Do we want to do that in the middle of summer? I don't, but I will look at it and I will read it. So I will vote to hold. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Any other comments? Alder Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to support to hold as well. I don't know where the fire alarm is on this. We've got time to make this decision, and we've got time to make the decision with all of the information that's available to us. I think, this decision sets a precedence for how we're going to treat former employees who might be involved in legal action. We can certainly hide behind legalese of whether or not we're obligated to pay for it. But I think at the end of the day, for us to just wait until the next council meeting to put those at ease who want to read the report, to have that information so that we can make a decision that's appropriate based on all information that is currently available but hasn't been presented to us, I think is a wise one. And I mean, I look forward to seeing the report. Thank you, Mayor.
It's not a report. It's a response to a complaint.
Alder
Gerlach.
I'm sorry to speak again, but my colleagues know that I absolutely will read whatever is put in front of me. I'll read every page of it. But I just want to be clear. I think I'm hearing from Attorney Chavez that we are not being asked to pay for Chris Teskey to defend herself against the Wisconsin Election Committee or the complainants. We are being asked to pay for an attorney so she can conflict with the position of the city of Green Bay. I just want to make sure that we're all clear on what we're being asked to pay for. Because you talk about her being a former employee and a former employee that I dearly loved. But this is not about, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, this is not about leaving her out in the cold now when she's trying to defend herself against the Wisconsin Election Committee or the complainants who brought that whatever that thing was. It's asking us to pay for her to conflict with the city. I cannot.
Thanks, Alder. Any further comments or questions? Alder Burnett.
Yeah, thank you, Council, or thank you, Mayor, to my colleagues here on the Common Council. Attorney Chavez just emailed us the response. I just did a simple search, put in Chris Teskey's name, and it appeared 13 times. So if we're going to make a decision on permanently denying the right to counsel from a former city employee, if we have a document that we just had emailed to us during the course of the meeting and include that former employee's name 13 times, we owe it to that employee and all city employees, now and in the future, to take the due diligence to look into the complaint, to read it, to respond to the complaint, and hold it for 2 weeks. Nothing major will happen in that time, but it makes me certainly feel better about my duties to my constituents and to the public. So I'm firmly in favor of holding it until we all can review this document. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Alder Gerlach for a maybe third time.
Fifth, who knows? I just have to respond to that. We are not being asked to pay to defend Chris Teskey against that report or that action. We are being asked to pay for an attorney to support her in her conflict with the city of Green Bay. Of course her name is in that report. Of course it is. That is not what we are being asked to pay to defend her against. But if I'm wrong, please, Attorney Chavez point it out.
Thanks, Alder. So we do have a motion here to hold for 2 weeks. That has been seconded. Alder Weary?
I just wanted to point out, a conflict attorney is not something that's necessarily uncommon. I mean, it doesn't happen a lot, but right attorney, it's something that happens. As it was explained, and you can explain it if you want to get an open session, it's just a process thing. If there's two employees and they're being sued by an outside force and the city's and they disagree, and they're pointing fingers at each other, the city's gonna defend one. But they're gonna pay for the other person to have an attorney, a conflict attorney. That's what's going on here. If we are going to decide that we're cutting ties, which we might do, I don't know, then if former Clerk Teskey would be on her own to defend herself and those expenses, 5, 10, 15, 20,000, whatever they are. So we have to internally decide, what do we owe former employees? Or, because that former employee happens to have an opposite opinion of most people still here, is that why we're jettisoning representation? I don't know. I hope not. But I want to read this report first and know as much as I can before I make a decision. Maybe I won't sway it at all. I don't know. But we should, like Attorney Johnson said, there's no fire alarms going off here. Just let's take 2 weeks, read it, come back. Boom.
Thanks, Alder. Any final comments? Alder
Oh,
Scannell?
just one. A question for Attorney Chavez. The legal department has decided we have no obligation to her. Would reading this report change legal's opinion in any size, shape, or form?
No, I already reviewed the provisions that pertain to Chris Teskey, and nothing that is in the document changes the position.
So I find it a little incredulous that alders are going to put on their lawyer hat and overturn our attorney's recommendation here. Well, I'm not going to go into it. That's enough. I support our attorney's recommendation that we are not obligated, and so I will be voting accordingly.
Thanks, Alder.
Two different things. There's legally right and there's morally right. And we get to decide, it might not be legally right, but it's something we morally want to do.
Any final comments, Alders? Yep, we absolutely can. If we're prepared to take a vote, we will use the board. And again, a reminder on the motion, this is a motion to hold the item for until our next council meeting.
Thank you, Alders. You may vote. And Alder Weary, how do you wish to be recorded?
Alder Weary's aye.
Thank you. Sorry, had the wrong screen. There we go. That is a correct screen.
And that is 7-4 to hold that item. On to report of the Personnel Committee.
Move to approve.
Motion has been made to approve by Alder Dorf, seconded by Alder Stevens. Any items here to be handled separately? Seeing none, all in favor of approving that report, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, the report has been approved. Public Arts Commission.
Motion to approve.
Mayor, could you just hold on one second? I'm
Yep.
sorry, I'm having some difficulties. My computer is very slow. Just hold on.
No problem.
Thank you so much. Okay.
So we are on the report of the Public Arts Commission from July 28, 2021.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Dorf. All in favor will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. That report has been approved. On to receive and place on file.
Receive and place on file.
Motion has been made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Stevens, to receive and place on file the building report for June 2021 and the municipal court report for June 2021. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. On to resolutions.
Motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
Motion to suspend the rules has been made by Alder Scannell. That was seconded by Alder Stoyer. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and those resolutions will be taken up with one roll call vote.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to adopt made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Stoyer. Any discussion?
Item 5, separate, please.
5. We had the motion to suspend the rules and take the items up with one roll call vote. You can, motion has been made to reconsider the suspension of the rules made by Alder Brunette, seconded by Alder Johnson. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Would you like to take all of the resolutions up with the exception of item 5?
Motion to suspend the rules to take all resolutions.
So Alder
I'm
Brunette.
sorry, I can't hear what's being asked
Yep, I'll
for.
repeat it. Alder Brunette makes a motion to suspend the rules and take up all of the resolutions with one roll call vote with the exception of item 5. And that was seconded,
I'll second it. I don't
seconded
know.
by Alder Dorf. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. So the rules are suspended to take up all of those resolutions with the exception of item 5. We will use the board on all of those resolutions again with the exception of number 5.
Thank you. Just give me one moment.
Actually, I don't entertain a motion to adopt those resolutions.
Oh, yeah, I move to adopt.
Second.
Motion to adopt made by Alder Dorf, seconded by Alder Scannell.
Alders, you may vote to adopt all except item 5. There we go. And Alder Scannell?
I got it.
Okay, thank you.
And those are adopted unanimously, 11-0. On to item 5.
Yes.
Alder Brunette.
Thank you, Mayor. With your permission, I'd like to ask Alderman Scannell a question.
Sir.
Go ahead.
Alderman Scannell, thank you, by the way. I'm all about nonpartisanship and especially redistricting and drawing boundaries of lines for representation. But I guess my question is, did you draft this? Did city attorney's office draft this, or was this drafted by another entity and forwarded to us?
Alder Scannell?
Yep, it was basically taken from another city, Point City, who had passed a resolution and worked over and passed through legal. So it wasn't reinventing the wheel, it was taking what had already been passed by someone.
Okay. Thank you. I had no other question for the alderman, but I guess I can agree with much of this. There are two lines that I need to know are 100% factually true. That would be, whereas the 2011 Wisconsin legislative process to draw the maps and fight litigation, contesting those maps cost taxpayers nearly $1.9 million. And then the next line, whereas a panel of federal district court judges has ruled that the redistricting done in Wisconsin 2011 was unconstitutional. The second part, I guess, is the one that really confuses me, because if a panel of federal district court judges ruled one way, is it possible that an appellate court ruled the other direction, or if it went to the Wisconsin Supreme Court and it was overturned? I don't know those answers, so I like much of this resolution, but if I'm going to pass it, I need to know from city staff, not necessarily from the alderman who received it from another entity, but did city staff verify that? Can they tell us if that judgment from the panel of judges were overturned?
Attorney Chavez, do you have any comments on that?
I have to double check, but I do remember that this was an issue that made national news. So I'd have to go and double check. I want to say it was actually done at the U.S. Supreme Court level, because this would have been a federal action.
Right. Yeah, it did fail at the U.S. Supreme Court level.
Okay. So I would like to make a motion to remove those two whereas lines, because I don't know if these are truthful. And I have no reason to believe they're not. I'm just saying if the idea is to pass it tonight, I can't pass it with those two if I can't, get some verification from city staff that they're 100% truthful and that there's nothing taken out of context.
I move that we hold it till the next meeting, till we have time to investigate this and to see if perhaps these are accurate, rather than just removing something tonight. There's no fire, right? Isn't that fire alarm? Isn't that what we talk about?
Well, for myself, I mean...
The motion was made to hold the item until our next council meeting.
Second.
Alder Dorf, it was seconded by Alder Johnson. But Alder Scannell on that motion?
Yeah, I have no problem amending this in any way. I mean, I don't think the whereases are really all that pertinent. I mean, we could, if there's some we wanted to add or some we wanted to change or some we wanted to excise, I think it's the conclusion that is the most important part here. What whereases we want to put in, I mean, I just went with this because it was, something the city had passed and it looked pretty good. I didn't actually verify it. I assumed that they, I trusted the system that they were, no city would pass this with false information. But for me, if alders want to take on a couple of whereases, I really don't have a problem with it. I don't know if there's some who would alders who want to argue that those whereases are very pertinent and should stay. I mean, I could that's an argument that can be made. For myself, I don't think it's all that relevant. If you want to take them out, I don't think it matters.
Mayor?
Alder Stoyer on the motion to hold the item.
Yeah, I agree that we should hold it, but I was going to ask Alder Scannell. What again?
Point City.
Point? Point City. Where's that? Where is that?
Point City.
Where is that? It's not Stevens Point. Point City.
No.
Point City, what? California? Not that it matters. What's that?
It was Wisconsin.
Point City. I'm a geographer. I don't know that. Okay.
Yeah, it might be a different name. I'm not familiar with.
Yeah, I can't remember. I
Point City.
don't have it in front of me.
Yeah.
Okay. Whatever.
But whatever. It wasn't Stevens Point. I know that.
Alder Gerlach?
As long as the author of this resolution is comfortable with removing those two whereas clauses, if you would entertain a motion, if this is appropriate, to amend, I would move that we remove those two clauses that are offensive or questionable and move forward.
We do have the motion on the floor to hold the item.
Well, that takes
Oh,
precedent.
we have to vote on that first. Okay.
Yep. Alder Johnson?
It gets us to that point.
Alder Johnson has withdrawn his second from the motion to hold. Alder Dorf, any thoughts?
I'll just withdraw my motion then.
Okay.
Alder Scannell, but those could be really important in the future, but let's hope they aren't. I'll withdraw.
Thanks, Alder. So Alder Gerlach makes the motion to excise those whereas clauses from the resolution.
Second.
Seconded by Alder Scannell. All in favor will signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. That amendment is successful.
Motion to adopt as amended.
Second.
Motion to adopt as amended made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Stoyer. Any final comments? All right, we will use the board.
Thank you, Alders. You may vote. Alder Weary.
Alder Weary's aye.
Thank you. Oh, there's someone missing. So
That's me.
sorry.
I'm an aye. Mayor, that was me.
Okay.
Okay.
Alder Burnett is
Thank
aye.
you. Okay.
Those
All
are,
right, there we go.
that resolution is adopted 11-0. On to ordinance's first reading.
Motion to advance. Or do we need to suspend the rules? I'm not there. I don't
Alder
know.
Johnson made the motion to advance. I'll take that as a second. Alder Scannell. All in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and that ordinance has been advanced to a second and final reading. Petitions and communications. Alder Vanderleest.
Thank you. This would be to the Finance Committee. Just a second, I just want to switch my glasses over here. Request that the 2022 city budget submitted by the Green Bay City Council hold property taxes rate flat. Also for the staff to investigate what grant and federal monies can be used to assist with the 21 and 2022 city budget needs. I can send it to Finance and Protection Policy, whichever one Finance, you want to go to Finance, Mayor?
Makes sense, sure.
Thank you.
Other communications? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to, I forget what the motion is. Motion to,
Refer has been made by Alder
Refer,
Johnson,
refer.
seconded
Motion to
by
refer.
Alder Scannell, sounds like. All in favor will signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the communication has been referred. Adjournment.
motion to adjourn.
Motion made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Dorf to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We're adjourned. Thanks.